Hello, this is Alex from the National Weather Service in Pocatello with your Southeast Idaho weather hazard briefing for Thursday, August 22nd. Taking a look at the main impacts for the next few days. Those include some breezy and cooler conditions today, and we do expect some isolated thunderstorms along and near the Montana border region, possibly sneaking as far south as maybe even the Wood River Valley or Idaho Falls. We'll show you forecast radar in a bit to give you an idea of where that activity might occur and when. This weekend is shaping up to be a breezy to windy one. Breezy conditions Saturday, windy Sunday. We'll have a look at those wind gust forecasts as well coming up. Beyond that, simply hot and dry conditions into midweek. Initially, looking ahead, we really don't see any precipitation chances until maybe Thursday or Friday next week, with low confidence on that being so far out. But the trend definitely after today is a warm and dry trend for the week. Taking a look at the planning timeline, we mentioned the wind and thunderstorm threat here for portions of the Central Mountains, especially closer to the Montana border to the north end of the Salmon Chalice, and also along the Montana border region towards Island Park. Otherwise, the breezy conditions will be in place for the other areas here: Magic Valley, Snake Plain, also the Southeast Highlands and the Bear Lake area. Not really expecting any impacts for Friday, so we don't have those colored. Saturday, breezy conditions are expected across all of Southeast Idaho, as well as Sunday, but the stronger winds shift farther south on Sunday, and they're focused over the Magic Valley, Eastern Snake Plain, and Arco Desert, where we could see some wind gusts, maybe up to 45 miles per hour across the Arco Desert. Taking a look at the satellite picture this morning, we can see the cold front that we've been talking about for a few days now, which currently stretches, it just passed through Pocatello at 4 a.m. and through Salmon around 2 a.m. That front's forecast to continue to move eastward and should move completely into Wyoming by about 9 a.m. this morning. The fuel moisture is reaching extreme values here across far southeast Idaho. And in terms of ERC trends, they continue to be on the rise, exceeding the 90th percentile across far southeast Idaho in zone 413. Now they should come down a bit with the cooler temperatures today, but would likely be on the rise again this weekend and beyond with the dry conditions that are expected. Before we show you the temperatures, let's show you the forecast radar for today. Starting off early this morning, showers are expected to develop here across the Salmon Chalice, and as we go through the afternoon, we start to see some isolated thunderstorms develop. So these areas here east of Mackey towards say Lost Trail Pass, and again continuing across much of the Salmon Chalice with these isolated thunderstorms. And then by the time that we get into the evening, that activity moves out into the northern Snake Plain and moves eastward along the Montana border all the way south to maybe to Rexburg. A little convergence zone develops there late this afternoon and early this evening. And by the time we get to sunset and just beyond sunset, the majority of that activity should have moved off and also dissipated. So high temperatures today, they should be about 10 to 15 degrees cooler than what we saw on Wednesday behind the cold front. And we start to rebound them by a couple of degrees on Friday, a few more degrees on Saturday. And the high temperatures that you see here on Saturday should be very similar to what's expected for the rest of the weekend or early next week, even into the middle of next week. Although we should see temperatures rebound and warm a couple of degrees into the middle of next week as a ridge of high pressure builds back into the area. Taking a look at the forecast minimum relative humidities today, there are a few areas across 410, a very small portion of the zone though, that we may see minimum relative humidity dip below 15% this afternoon. Otherwise, most areas have recovered behind the cold front. That doesn't last very long though. Friday we dry out and we see a more widespread area of critical minimum relative humidity values. Saturday, we see some very slight recovery, especially over the eastern highlands, so zone 14, 411, but still maintaining some critical minimum relative humidity values across the Arco Desert. Very similar story for Monday, but we do begin to dry those minimum relative humidity values out again towards the middle of next week. The forecast wind gusts for today exceeding 30 miles per hour here in the yellow colors. And skipping Friday because we don't expect any critical wind speeds to be exceeded on Friday, but that does change on Saturday. A portion of the Arco Desert, so this is portions of 410 and that extreme northeast portion of zone 425 getting into the critical wind gust thresholds. Notice though, we do see breezy conditions even across the Salmon, Targhee, and points east towards the Wyoming border as well. Sunday, like I mentioned, the strongest winds shift southward, so still some breeziness across the central mountains, but less windy than when compared to Saturday. But notice we do see a fairly broad area here of critical wind gusts out of the west and southwest expected on Sunday. And then winds do quiet down for early next week into the middle of next week. And that's what we're showing here. Still a bit breezy in the afternoon across the Arco Desert. Nothing unusual there though, but they are below the critical thresholds, at least as currently forecast for Monday, and even lighter winds Tuesday and Wednesday. That concludes the briefing for today. If you have any comments, questions, or feedback, we welcome those to the phone number or email you see there. Thank you.